have you for the second part 2, because I believe we can't exhaust immigration in just 30 minutes. So thank you. Our viewers, we thank you so much for watching.
So welcome to this week's edition of The Pink Box. I am here with Tricia Edgar, a longtime London artist. So we're here for a couple of reasons. Obviously, to talk a little bit about the studio tour, but to also talk about and go around your studio and talk about your process a bit. So shall we just jump in?
Yes, do so.
Let's jump in. We're filming this right now, beginning of April, but third week of April, of course, we're having the studio tour.
Yes.
And I've been to visit your studio a few times. This will be one of the times that I won't be able to do it, but I always enjoyed coming in because we're in your home. So a couple quick questions then. Obviously, you've been a London artist for how many years?
Well, I went to, started out going to Western and discovered London in the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And, fell in love with the city and wanted to stay. And eventually that all worked in place.
Yeah.
And so here I am.
And how long have you been part of the studio tour there?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, only 4 years.
Okay, so you're new to it in that context.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I mean, basically, it's just been part of the pandemic. Then you've been
right. So very interesting to sort of start with it with a little bit of a slow start, and I was in it the 21, and then we had one in the fall. We had to switch it, and then we had again in the spring.
Yeah.
But yes, the energy is definitely there. So, and it was actually a long time dream and goal of mine.
And so it's a long time goal to be part of the studio tour. So, for the past 4 years, did you have a highlight? Do you have something that really stuck out as something that was wonderful?
Oh, there is just so many pieces. There's so many pieces to this. And I think, because I reflect often, like, why do you want to do this? It's, the hard thing is you need to be really brave. It's encompassing, right? To have people come in. But that's why I do it, because you feel like there's this connectivity that you get that's unique. It's unique because why? Art, let's think of the places that we view art. Well, it's often a gallery, or there's wonderful arts and crafts. And I've done that. I've been an arts and craft vendor. And there's that kind of showing. And then there's this level that brings people in, and the energy of mine kind of goes out.
So you actually quite enjoy it. I'm kind of partly dreading this a bit, to be honest, but you actually enjoy that process of people coming in and getting out of the comfort zone.
I do. Because I'm an extrovert, of course. And so being an extrovert, you thrive on that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fear is there, and the fear, because, we're all the same, us artists. We're putting ourselves out there. You have to take in all the comments and things like that, but that's fueling too. That's fueling as part of the process. So,
has there been any part of the process you haven't kind of enjoyed, or something that you wish would go a little better for you?
It's right about now. It's the 3 weeks before, because I'm a bit sad already that it's going to be over, because I always go through a letdown.
Okay.
And I'm fueled by this, like a goal. Right? I mean, I've been painting like you, like many artists, and drawing and teaching all my life. But this is the goal. This is the drive. And we need that. I think we all need that in any kind of work, right?
For sure. One of the things I dread about this is the fact that I have to clean my studio up for people to come in. It's like, oh my goodness, it's work. Because some studios and some artists are amazingly organized.
I learned that, you know what? I'm in between because I need this stuff and visual stuff to be all around. But I remember learning from artist Susan Day, her one thing was before she went to bed at night, she tried at least to spend that little bit of time so you got up in the morning and things had its place. So I try that, and my brain does need a little bit of organization at times, but other times I'm like all over the map.
I think one of the things I'm learning about it, there is a level of disorganization which actually helps creativity, but when your tools are not organized, and you can't find things, that's one thing. Or let's say your paintbrushes aren't clean and you get up in the morning. So I think when the ideas are jumbled, that sometimes creates other ideas. But obviously, I mean, we'll go around the studio in a bit and have a look at it. But when you keep your tools nice and clean and you know where they are, you don't spend all the time searching for things.
And that is part of this tour. To think people come in and they see me as an artist, as a productive, like productivity, like this is my job too. It's not it's an opportunity for people to see that I am working and I am struggling at this as a job too. And I love that, because how else do we get that feeling that art just isn't magical? We are not magical people. We have to work at our skill, and look at all the greats. They did hundreds and thousands of paintings, right? And so that's the beauty of the tour, to have all these, to be able to, you know, to show some value to it also as art making, that there's a lot of time and personal, you put your personal into it, but then you have an opportunity like this to get it out there.
So before we start talking about your art, let's talk about your studio a little bit more. But this is, so you're a self-employed artist, obviously. Art is not always just about the painting. It's about the creation of ideas, and sometimes even about finishing things. Putting hangers on the back, and
it's all out there.
It's there's some business aspects to it, but. If this is your studio, and let's say someone hasn't been able to make it to your studio during the studio tour, do you have an open studio, or how does somebody get in touch with you?
I have a website, and I try and do social media a bit, and people can come in anytime, which they do. So we renovated, and with that in mind, this is at the front of our house, which is so nice because people can come in, and I have classes and things like that too, and it is a space to have all the stuff though, right? Too, like all your materials.
So your studio's inside your house. I did try that for a bit, and so my husband kicked me out. No, actually, he would love the idea of us being together, but I'm just, there's a mess that creates. So how do you work that work-life balance when your studio, which is your workspace, is just right here?
So interesting. Because I'm reflecting, both our boys are out of the house full time. And
they're not coming back.
Maybe, I don't know. The front door is right there. So I have a window that looks down the street. Love that, because I get to see people and what they're doing. And then people come in, and there's this, like, I feel like I can close my door, but often it's not closed because it's close to the kitchen, and I love cooking, and I'm kind of cooking a bit, and then I'm running back in here. So there is a real fluidity for me that I work with. Sometimes it's a barrier of distraction, of course, and I really have to, shut the doors. But more, there's an energy. I have a day bed here. And when one of the guys comes home or such, there's somebody flopped on there, right? Like it's, and it helps me to not keep this too controlled and in myself. I think it's just okay. Like, and what's on the news? And I'm a hockey fan, so the hockey's on, and I feel that.
So do you, are you drawn to this at all hours, or do you try to keep it kind of a 9 to 5 kind of thing?
No, all hours. Okay. Yeah. So I'm an after dinner, definitely. person too. Like I love the first in the morning, and then I have a lull that comes at 12 till 2 that I got to get out, or you know, but then I'm back on because I like the crunch. I like the crunch before I make dinner.
Yeah.
Or I'm teaching. So I teach in Thames Valley in high school classrooms.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not every day that I'm working in here.
Okay.
Close, but if I'm teaching, then I'm back and I'm, you know, making something in here too also.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So let's, if you're okay, can we do a bit of a walk around? Let me follow you around with the camera a little bit. Let's see your studio. And then I'd like to come back and sit down and actually more specifically talk about your art.
Okay.
You know, what you do and why you do it. That kind of stuff. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Welcome.
Which is great. Yeah. So here we are actually in your art studio.
Yeah.
So you've talked about, we'll start at the David, which I think is really kind of interesting in the art studio.
Yes.
So this is a multi-purpose room. This is also where you maybe crash when you're
Yes, I'll do that when nobody else wants me.
Yeah.
And I have my, you know, this is some of the things that people see in here, and I now notice. I now know to talk about because it's part of me. I have a drawing when I was 6 over here. And I always say like the value that my parents are, that to keep that, right?
Yep.
And this was a piece that I had an early mentor, Alex Godden, who's now passed away, from Simcoe, Ontario. And this was a painting, my first oil painting that I ever did in my early 20s. I would look after his cats, and he would teach me to oil paint. And he lived across the road on number 3 highway, and he lived in the
did that in 1990.
1990, yeah.
Wow.
He lived in an old schoolhouse that my dad went to school in, and my grandmother. So it was this richness of value for me.
Yeah.
And I have a sink.
So, but so you're surrounding yourself with your work, but also work that inspires. And here you also have a sink close by.
Yes. Sorry about that, but I get excited about the sink because how many artists get a sink?
Actually, it's true. I don't have a sink in.
And there was a lot of craziness getting this sink in. I had a renovator all of a sudden say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't put a sink in." And I was on the floor saying, "No, we're doing this because I need a sink, because my family doesn't need to eat out of the kitchen sink or the bathroom with paint everywhere anymore." Yeah. So that was exciting. And I want to show you one thing here that's so exciting for me. This is a picture. I don't know if you can get in on it. This is my great-great-grandmother's parlor room. Oh, wow. And if you notice, she was an artist with mess. Oh, she had mess. Awesome. She had her piano. And so this has always been a bit of a dream. This is one of her paintings from the early 1900s.
So again, some more inspiration. So inspiration from some of your mentors and family.
Yes. Oh, and this is another little nook I have for mentors, or inspiration, like local. This was a closet, so this is fantastic. But like Carol Finkbeiner Thomas, her pottery, and
we actually just went and saw Carol, and it was amazing.
Right, and I have a Corinne, and Andrew Lewis, and Susan Day, and Kevin Bice. Just those, because this is the realness. Whether I'm in, this is my little city in my little town, right?
Yeah.
And so I love coming in here knowing that other people, and when people come through, they're like, oh yeah, like. And old friends are from old friends.
But you point to a great thing that we oftentimes think of the artists that we appreciate, and we lots of landscape artists point to the Group of Seven or the French Impressionists or those kind of things. And we all love them, but you're actually filling your inspirational spaces with the people around you.
Exactly.
Susan Day, Kevin Bice, Carol, Corinne.
Yes,
these are London artists.
It's that thread, right? It's a thread of connectivity for me to this place. Because sometimes the Group of Seven seems like far away, right? So we need a place, right? Yeah. So come on through here if you want.
Well, before we go, don't go. Let's not leave there yet, because we're still inside the studio, and you've got a painting on the go right now. So is this oil or is this acrylic?
No, this is acrylic.
Yep.
This is acrylic. So I quite often like to do a back painting of
like an underpainting.
Underpainting in yellow, orange, just because of the vibrancy that'll pull through.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes perhaps I have to fight with not having kept too much of it because I love
you love color.
I love the color.
You love vibrancy.
So it just so that one's in process. This was an oil.
Yep. So this is kind of your idea station.
Mm-hmm.
You've obviously, I love brushes
Yeah.
and paint.
Yes.
Yes. So this is generally where you put your palette and work, and then your easels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a great window here, and then I have this. This was really cool that my our cupboards, like find cupboards from your kitchen, and then my one brother made me a countertop that's out of a live edge wood, and it's interesting, right? Because this space is so useful for me.
Yes.
Because art materials take a certain kind of shape and space. Like I have things all underneath here, all the canvases.
Yep.
And you don't really realize that, it's hard to store art materials.
Or if they're oils in your layering, you've got to have a place for them to dry.
Oh, that's a whole
other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Because over the past month, my husband's like, okay, there's paint in the bathroom. There's oil paint. So he went and got big tarps because I need to bring it out of here.
Yeah.
This is a big room, but I need to bring it out of here and dry it. And you need to step away from your work.
Yeah.
And so I put it out in the other room, and then everybody comes and they give all their comments and
see. So just before we go into the room and we follow you, I noticed you've obviously taken photos, and so you work from photos. I also noticed over here you've got your sketchbook.
Oh, yes.
So what do you primarily work from? Memory, photos?
Interesting. Quite often I'm always taking photos and wanting to come back and capture that. I do some en plein air, but my hometown, I grew up rural near Port Dover. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of always on that road or always thinking about the road. So I'm taking pictures and then I'm coming back, and there's that translation that happens, right? From a photo to what happens. And so
right. So you take a photo like this, which is obviously trees, and you've got a love for trees, but all of a sudden your love of color and your joy comes out. And that is the process of art, right? You're not actually, if you wanted to paint that, right, you would be a photorealist. Right.
And that one kind of translates into this one, Jane.
Oh, so that's that one. Okay. Perfect.
So, yes, this one's kind of in process where it's a little bit chunky yet. Yeah. And this one's a little softer than some of mine. Some of mine get really orange and bright. But, you're right. Like, and I thought to myself, okay, this is a golf course, right? Like, is that... Sometimes I like that wilder feel, but then I really enjoyed some of my favorite trees are on golf courses because we can see them.
Yeah. Yep.
We can see them and they're let to grow. They're in their odd shapes and ways. So I'm not a snob about them anymore because they're perfect.
Trees are beautiful wherever you find them, actually. So, now you can take me through the.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Yes. So
obviously somebody's coming in through the front door.
Yes.
They're coming now. This is your living room, and it's a bit of a gallery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm starting to get things on the wall, even though I have a family that come and like to rearrange things, which is really nice because we need that. It's hard for us to see our work. So I don't know if you've heard about my fish. I do a lot of these fish, and that comes from my love of Port Dover, and
that's quite interesting. That's quite beautiful.
That's a yellow perch. Yes, I don't know. I got into doing a lot of trout also, and I love the black because I'm not thinking about the composition, and my hand just goes to the color and the the brush strokes and the color. Very interesting because I didn't realize that. So I'll do one with composition and then I'll just go to a black background and go.
It's a little more illustrative, but it's actually more about the fish that's there, right? And the colors, and it just stands out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Patience there. So we actually, without the phone, we did a little bit of a walkthrough and highlighted a few little pieces, which is great. So you've got a really lovely, nice large piece over here, which is filled with color, but has to be seen in the aggregate. And when I look at this, I think that looks so much like a Tricia Edgar. It really is. It's filled with color. It's filled with energy. I know the trees can live by themselves, but just as one interesting piece. So can you tell me the idea behind it, though?
Well, yes, it's perhaps a bit much for a small space house, but I wanted this idea that that you walk, you know, that feeling of kind of walking through, or a small child, you know, can walk through a forest, right? And I wanted there to be individual, these are all individual species of trees, but I wanted them to be all together with that common ground. And the ground, although it's common, it's full of, you know, the chaos and the color.
Yeah. Is it different seasons, or is it's just different species?
It's just different species more. I mean, I love my pine, my maple, the spruce, and the purple birch.
Oh, the purple birch. Wonderful. And what's the large one in the middle? This one
is the white pine.
The white pine.
The white pine.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's something that
and the blue spruce,
pine.
And this is the small, like this is the growth, right? This is the growth of the small white pine. So yeah, I wanted something that was 7 feet because I have boys who are over 6 foot, and I wanted them to be able to walk past.
Well, there's something great about large trees, right? Like we're really drawn to trees.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
And then we had a peek at a different piece. Obviously, you talked about there's a Jack Chambers there, even though we're not here for Jack Chambers, which is kind of interesting.
A wonderful inspiration to sort of look at, and it's a drawing. So that's neat.
Which is cool. But over here is a bit, you called this a process piece.
Yes.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah. So this one, you know, really gives that reflection of where I'm coming from and a little bit of the why, even for me. You know, you start out with your inspiration. Well, you can tell I love my trees, but they're not just trees for trees. They're trees that are quite often a place and a space that
is that the meeting tree?
Yes, this one is the meeting tree. Yeah. So that's my London one. This is a Grand Bend. We have a cottage there, and that's a pretty one. This is kind of a country road, the country road and roots. I grew up with these very large tree roots that were, you know, taken out, and they all lined our property. And
it's very interesting.
It would climb. I climbed over them as kids, and I saw my kids climb over them. And then I saw people come and want to steal them. And you think, what is it? Well, it's, you know, these are roots that are 200 or 300 years old, and they're still giving something. They're giving people an interest of growth and change.
Which is awesome. And obviously the sketches.
You and that, you and I were talking about, that's our first place as an artist often, is that you just feel like you scribble something down, and you feel that you try and give a little bit of a voice and a representation to
and
something,
it's a bit of a visual diary, right? Not every sketch works, but also I find I sketch more, write notes, but it kind of becomes my diary more than anything else. Yes. So sometimes it works out into painting, and sometimes it's just because I need to express myself. Okay, so we've walked around a bit, and a couple observations. you are so filled with joy and energy as we go around. It's amazing. It's wonderful. So when you talk about yourself being an extrovert, it just exudes out of your personality, and how much you love painting, how much you love art, how much you love color. You know, can you I don't know if you can explain where that comes from, or just I'm so impressed walking around, because you just you exude it. It's, and those of us sometimes that get blocked, or it just can be difficult to express yourself. You just are so natural as you head around. It's amazing. So thank you. So tell me about your love of color.
Oh, my color. I reflect on that, and it comes from within, where I'm analyzing nature all the time. Oh, wow. Like, look at those colors, or look at that color of a bug, or that fascinates me. So even like from a scientific perspective, I can't believe that the world is so colorful, right? So I'm so thankful that I have sight to see that and how it makes me feel inside. And then I think there's a bit of normalness growing up, being expressive, having paint. Like, I grew up the daughter of an auto body man, and I laughed. I thought to myself about the word paint.
Mm-hmm.
We heard
about
word paint
all the time.
Every day it was, Dad's got to paint at night. He's painting this car. Oh, there's too many flies to paint in the country. It's the wrong shade of paint. Go to Simcoe and pick up another bit of paint. So that normality of paint as a medium, and then making. I think for me, my mom, I saw my grandmother making all the time, mm-hmm. and color. And the funny thing about color, you can maybe even see here, one of my quilts. Did
you make these quilts?
I did not make this one. This is one from my mom.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wonder where I get my color from.
Yeah, but that's beautiful.
We analyze in discussion, in dialogue, every other day, what project she's doing, what project I'm doing. So it just is to be honest, like, people say, oh, look at all the color. And I'm like, well, yeah, I talk about it all the time. And I'm thinking about it, and just projects and making and decor and the fun of clothes. And not that I'm a big clothes person, but I think that's where I value it.
So this question may already be answered, and it's got two folds, two parts to it. So from your perspective, what's kind of the meaning, or what's the purpose of art? And the second component will be, what's the purpose of your art?
Boy.
So it's two big questions there. So
the meaning, I mean, we know everybody has creativity within them. So for you and I, we've learned the value of finding some way to express it, whether it's music or visual or theater. It's thinking and learning and valuing that you can express. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I grew up with that you find something and you're productive, but you enjoy it too, mm-hmm. right? And I think that combination. And then personally, it's a translation. I mean, to think that I can translate something that I see outside and I bring it back in. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, or that I can kind of maybe give voice.
Yeah. So, and when I look at the subject matters that you choose, you do find it in the world around us, right? You've got the tree, you've got the coneflowers, you've got the world around you, mm-hmm. you've got the Great Lakes, or the tugboats, or whatever that actually have personal meaning to you. So in many ways, you're bringing beauty and color to those, to the world around, right?
Yeah. Well, that can add a little bit of joy in this world, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be simple. Art can be simple. It can have a message.
Yeah.
It can have a message. I'm not so much about some message, except, look around. Find your joy.
Yeah. And do it. Because it does take practice. It does take intentional things.